twice last year. First from Virginia to my home state of Washington, and then from my father's house to the house I purchased for my family. And I can say that moving during pandemic was not fun, but we have arrived and we love our new place. So this is Dara, and I just have to say I could not have done this all without Notion, and I wanted to show some of the things that I've done with my Notion space since we last spoke. So I still am using Life Organizer. That has not gone away. It is the underpinning of what I'm about to, walk through today. But I've created this dashboard, and the idea of this dashboard is that not only is it going to show me as I come into my workday what it is that I want to be focused on for the day, but it also brings in some behavioral things that I want to capture as I go through my time. So let's go ahead and dive in and take a look at what I've created here. Okay, so the first thing that I'm doing is I'm starting to try to track the quality of sleep that I get each night. I do suffer from insomnia, and so, right now I'm just tracking, when I'm sleeping well, when I'm not sleeping well, and maybe the reasons. So here I've just got this quick little table, and it's got, I had a good night, the category is sleep, I slept 8 hours, and, I'm saying, well, it was the weekend, so I slept in. That's how I was able to get more sleep. And then over here, so this is the same database. So here I'm tracking my mood. So this was, when I woke up, I, put in just these emojis to track, like, how I was feeling when I got up. And then, a little later in the day, I had another mood check-in. This is, me seeing, that it snowed. And so this moods database, as I'm growing this, is just a little way of tracking some behavioral things. So if I come down to the end of the day, I also have more here because I want to track my mood again. At the end of the day, I have a place where I want to do some little micro journaling to kind of remember, like, here's a memorable moment I experienced today. So, here's the snow. And then I also have like things about how do I want to unwind for the day. So just to quickly show how these filters are set up, they automatically assign the category. They automatically assign the date. So I don't have to fill in those things. I can literally just, open it up, create the entry, and that already has, what it needs to say there. And so the hope is, like, over time I'm building out this gallery actually where I can see kind of a look back over what's happened over the course of the days. So, here's today that snowed, and, I had a couple of days ago, the dog was like barking like crazy. I put it as a memorable moment. I could have also put it as, the why I didn't sleep. I saw the number 333, and so I looked up what that meant, and it's a message, from the angels saying that things are getting better. Here I was working on my son's locks, and it reminded me of this book, Benti, and when she was using the paste in her hair to form locks. So I just took a cover of that book. So anyway, it's just meant to do a little bit of, micro journaling as I go along. All right, so the next thing I have in here is this priority area. So I have added to my task stream this ability to track priority. So number one, I can set a priority. And then I have this priority marker that what it does is it looks at my priority and the alert. The alert just says, if the due date is today, then alert me, like, oh my God, I got to make sure I get this done. And so I just put one of those little screaming cat emojis. But the priority says, if the due date is today, the priority should be 5. You can see here's the formula. Otherwise, the priority is whatever I set the priority to. So you can see here that because this has a due date today, it is very high priority. I got to get this done. But this one is a level 2 priority. So it's important, but it's not as important as this. And then anything else that I have going on today is not as important as getting this done. So these are my top priorities. This here is a global module. So if I go to, and I just right now have a fake page to show, I don't have my weekly planning template actually here, but I can put my goals for the week here. And then I can show them wherever I want to by creating this global module. And perhaps I will do a video on creating global modules, but there are actually right now some great tutorials on YouTube from other providers about how to do a global module. So check that out. They're very helpful. And what's cool is that if you change it in one place, it changes everywhere. So if I go now back to that weekly planning template, you see that I changed it there too. So it's a good way of having these spaces where you can kind of keep track of something in multiple places. I also have that as a global module here, but we'll get to this in a minute. So these are my goals for the week. So anything that I have going on my task should roll up to, the weekly goals. I have this quick task, so I don't want to have anything in here that's going to go past today. This is more for if I'm in a meeting and I need to jot down something really quick, I can jot it here really quickly. If my kid comes in like, hey, let's order sushi or whatever, then I could say like, order sushi. But the idea is that this will it's something that's an emerging task that will go away in 5 minutes, will not carry till tomorrow. And if I feel by the end of the day that I have not, for whatever reason, gotten that done, then I need to move it from here, and it needs to actually become part of my task stream with priority attached to, some kind of project tagged appropriately, etc. All right, the other thing that I added to showing my task stream, if you've seen like I had in the past these Kanban boards where I'd say like whether it was in progress, not started, on hold, whatever. Right now, I actually want to change this because this is my day focus. So I'm saying, what time of day do I want to work on these things? So I'm going to study before work. This is actually fiction because I work East Coast hours and I live on the West Coast. So this actually would probably be end of day. So let's move that there. And then, so I've got it marked on when I want to work on it, and so I'm time blocking. This particular thing, which is my high priority thing, only takes 10 minutes. It takes 10 minutes to set up a GitHub repo. So obviously in my morning time period, I'm going to have time to do something else. So I'm going to move on to my number 2 priority. But creating this is going to take me time. Actually, it's going to take me a couple days. So I want to book some time both in the morning and the afternoon. So this is where I'm putting the time block, and I could just say like, what are the time blocks, and I can add as many time blocks as I need to reserve that time for myself during the day. And then this is another quick hit, like it's a half an hour meeting. So that's going to happen in the afternoon, breaking up this work time block. All right. And then, so the last thing that I have here is, actually, before I get to daily allowance, let me show the other template. So what I did is after I laid out this template, you see that it's got kind of my personal life stuff and it's got my work stuff all jammed together. And this is because I'm really good at compartmentalizing to a fault, which means that if I'm in work mode, I am not going to think about stuff that is, for personal time, and vice versa. So if I have to make a phone call to make a doctor's appointment in the middle of the day, or if I have to get a letter ready in the middle of the day, I am not going to remember to do that unless I'm looking at all of my tasks. So I don't segregate that out like some people, for them they want to keep those things separate. I keep them all together. But what I do want to do is that when I am on the weekend and when I'm on a holiday, I don't want to think about work stuff. So I have duplicated this template. And so basically I have the same thing weekend and holiday, and maybe I should actually change this cover. Let's see if something comes up if I put weekend. I don't know. This is fun. Like brunch. Brunch happens on the weekend. All right, so now what I've done is it's basically the same page, but I filtered out all the items that are tagged with work so that they don't show up. So now I only have two things, and now actually having study time in the morning is actually more appropriate on my weekend because that's going to happen. The other thing I'm doing, and this just says study time, but this is actually like an herbal task, and I could show for properties these tags. So these are herbal studies. The one section of my Notion space I do keep separate is my herbal work, because that's kind of a universe in itself. And I have another video that talks about how I set up my herbal studies, which is really just good for how to set up a study space in general, especially if you have multiple classes or even like I do in this case, multiple schools that you go to. And so here I've just linked in, that journal that belongs to that herbal study space, so I can come in here and, start taking notes on whatever I'm studying and seeing what course it's related to. All right, so that's pretty much how I manage my task. But the last thing that I'm going to add here is how do I want to track my daily expenses? So when I was younger, I lived, I'm still a consultant, but I had a traveling consultant job when I was younger, and not something that I can do now, having, children, a dog. Like I can't travel for work. But when I did that, it was great. It was very exciting. It's, when you have, no real other responsibilities other than work, having a traveling job can be kind of fun. But what they had for us was what's called a per diem. So if you have not had a consulting job, especially when you travel, they give you a per diem, and that just means a daily allowance. And the idea is that, because you're not at home, you can't do things like you can't cook for yourself, you can't bring a packed lunch, you may not be able to do laundry. So they give you an expense, a daily allowance to pay for those things. So going out to eat, getting dry cleaning done. There's another category that's like hotel, transportation, whatever, but you get a daily allowance for these kind of expenses that you would have been able to take care of yourself if you were able to go, be at home, whether you, commute to work or not, you still would have those same conveniences if you lived at home. So I kind of took this theory and I said, well, this is kind of really cool way of thinking about how to manage just my basic expenses. So what I did was first, when I did my budgeting, and I'll probably do another video at some point about how I do my budgeting. But when I did my budgeting, I have the categories that are kind of your debts and expenses. So debts are the things like loans, credit cards, whatever that you have to pay. So your car loan, your house loan, if you still have a student loan, this credit card or the other. Then your expense. So those are things that you've already spent, and now you owe. It's a good way of thinking about it. You've already spent on your credit card. You already took out that loan, and now you have to make payments on those things. Then you have your expenses that are happening, but that they happen every month. Your utilities, your subscribing to different things like Netflix, gym memberships, etc. So those are your bills. They're going to come every month, and even if it's a fixed versus flexible, like I pay the same amount for Hulu every month, but my heating bill fluctuates, I still know that those are going to be like, there's going to be one bill. I have to sit down and pay that bill. So I take those out. So now I'm left with what I consider to be kind of my daily expenses. Those are things that I want to think of on a daily basis, my per diem. So that's going to be dining out, entertainment, groceries, things I buy for the household, like, buying toilet paper supplies, what have you, gas, if we go to the doctor, that wellness expense. So those are kind of what I want to think about as my daily allowance. So after I took away my debts, and after I took away my monthly expenses, I have this budget, and I took away my savings. I have this amount that's left over, and I divided that over the course of the month. So there's 31 days in a month, and that gives me this total, and this total is what's going to be my daily allowance. And so now I just have this Gola module that actually lives within my budget planning that says, daily allowance. And so that's set to be for this month 100. That should fluctuate, by the way, because if you have your income and you have maybe some other money comes in, then maybe your daily allowance goes up. So I actually, last month had some things that I had purchased months ago for work that I had put in, expense reports. I got that money back finally, and so that was like an income, even though it was really a reimbursement. I still considered it as an income because I had already paid the bills that was already out of my account, and so now I'm getting reimbursed, and so that becomes income. And there might be other things that come to you. I don't know. Maybe it's your birthday or Christmas, and somebody's giving you money or what have you. All right. So what I'm coming in and doing. So this daily allowance line you see here, this is actually left over from yesterday. So yesterday I did not spend $100. I only spent $80. So that means I get $20 extra today. So now the kids have come in, they've asked for sushi, so we have some dining out, so that's $55. So you can see right now I have $35 left for the day. But it's going to snow. I'm doing this as if it was yesterday actually. So it's snowing. So let me order some groceries. And I'm going to go ahead and give that the tag of grocery. And then let's say I went ahead and I spent $80 on groceries. So now you see I've actually overspent here. So I need to track this. So when I come in, I'm going to adjust for tomorrow. I'm just going to click new, and I'm going to go ahead and I like to put this date. So just as I'm looking through the columns, I can just see that it's what date I'm talking about. But the date is actually attached in the table, and I'll show that in a second. And so then I'm just going to put here $15. So when I come in tomorrow, I'm going to be short $15 of my $100 allowance. So, so here we can see how I have this give and take, and it's really helpful to kind of just track on a daily basis, like, how am I doing on my spending? And it also is helpful to show my kids, like, hey, no, we can't order another meal out because we've overspent for the day. We need to conserve now and make sure our money lasts. And then when I go later and I'm doing my my actuals, my budget, I can come in here and I can see what I'm spending on. So I can say, like, first of all, let's just take out that daily allowance, because that's not a real thing. That's just for tracking on that dashboard. But this will actually tell me, like, how I'm spending. So I can come in and when I go to compare, I can actually create multiple filters and say, well, how much do I spend on food? So these are both food expenses, so grocery and dining out. How does that compare with what I thought I would spend on food? And then, here's what I spent on gas. How does that compare with what I thought I'd spend on gas? And are there other expenses that just popped up that I didn't even plan for? So I can get some real, interesting information by doing this daily tracking, both for making sure I'm not overspending on a daily basis, but also doing that monthly, retrospective on what my spending habits were. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I didn't build anything here, of course, most of my videos I build. The only thing that I created here that was new, that, in terms of the functionality of creating, was this global block. And like I said, there's videos out there that show you how to do that. So if it takes me time to get to that, I don't want you to be stuck waiting and saying, well, how exactly did she do that? There are plenty of videos out there that show that. But I did want to show you how I converted, this life organizer, which really is the planning, the housing space of these tables, and how did I turn that into something that I can use on a daily basis for myself. So hopefully, I have a better year this year in terms of my Notion channel, but I am very much excited still about this community and providing the things that I've learned. out there for you all, and take care. And until next time, peace.